Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf, Roger. Request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 and 8 Claw, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. Roger, I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my can use and 8 5, this is 7 November, Charlie. 8 5, right now. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, reference to your last, you're Brandon 158, extra 5 o'clock, 1200 between teams and local. Also request 3 units take outbound records to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for pause to the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf, my unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Yeah, I never took a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf, Roger. Request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 and 8 Claw, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
All right, welcome to whatever channel you're on. We're streaming on the CivDiv, Veterans Info Tap, Veterans Daily, VA Housing Education. I even think, David, you stream to LinkedIn.
That's right.
Right, you do. Yeah, so wherever you're watching from, thank you very much. We definitely appreciate that. Let me go ahead and just spill the beans on today's topic. It's a big one. A new law has passed the House. It's passed the Senate. It was signed by the President of the United States. That would be Donald Trump, in case you're living under a rock there. It will have a huge impact on veterans right here, right now. It's one of those things where those veterans who are affected are going to feel some relief. And so that's definitely something that every veteran, spouses, the veteran sphere, as Jason likes to describe, which I absolutely love, by the way, should be paying attention to. It's called the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act. That's a mouthful. From what I understand, it allows veterans who are behind on their mortgage to essentially just tack that on the back end. That's my Barney understanding there. But never fear, we have David Piatek here with us. He's a veteran who is still currently serving in the National Guard for some reason. No one knows why. He doesn't even know why he still does that, but he does it because he wants to. He is a true expert on VA home loan everything. He's a lender for the veterans. He's beautiful. He's bald. He's David Piatek. Talk to me, Goose. What's the 1 minute snapshot of this new law? These just keep getting better and better and better.
That's what I'm saying. VA home loan stuff always gets better. VA disability seems to get worse. So, well, thanks for having me on again. So, yeah, so the HR 1815 VA Home Loan Program Reform Act basically allows the VA to come in when a veteran is behind on their mortgage payments, basically sign it, get a checkbook out and say, look, we're going to cover the $30,000 you're behind, and we're going to take that, put it on the back end of the loan. So when you go to sell the home or you refinance your home, then you'll pay us back. and then the veteran could go back to making their mortgage payments. So it takes a big lift off a veteran that might have, had life events come up. It's one of the only programs that the government actually steps in to help veterans. Now, obviously, veterans still have to be able to work with their lender to kind of, exhaust every option that's out there. So
Yeah.
huge, but yeah, it passed like a week and a half ago, and then it was just signed in yesterday. So
Yeah, I know Jason's gonna knock the ball off the park here. I'm a rip the Band-Aid off type of person. I know what the people want to answer. All right, so I'm just gonna give it to you straight. Is this good or bad? Okay, and I'm saying that from a political sense. If you read any comments, you'll know there's a lot of background noise around anything that happens on the political stage these days. Is it good? Is it bad? And I'm obviously talking about looking at VASP, which I still don't understand, to be honest with you. We have this new program. What's the deal? And with that, I'm going to give it to y'all. Right? I'm out now. I'm bowing down. Good luck.
I think he even muted his mic, David.
yeah,
So
I see that.
yeah, so I'm going to let you start with that, and do the good or bad thing, just off the top of your head, and then I actually have another kind of question for you as we dig into this.
Yeah, so the VASP program was a pretty sweetheart deal for veterans that were behind on their mortgage payments, because, and you had to really, in that program, you really had to go be in foreclosure for the VA to then step in, right? And still, you couldn't self-elect to put yourself in there. But the positive part is they basically redid your mortgage, gave you like a 2.5% interest rate. That's what the VA was giving out at the time. They repackaged your deal, and boom, now the VA is servicing it, which initially when it came out, I did a video on, and I do say in there, like, it's pretty weird that the VA is servicing these mortgages, and where are they getting the authority to spend this kind of money on the infrastructure, which again doesn't exist. So that's why, in essence, they said, look, the government's not a good mortgage servicer. We're going to get rid of the program and come up with a new one, right? And this is, I think, to your point, this is taxpayer money that's being used to do this, right? So that's why I think this new approach, I'm probably going to get sacrificed in the comments on it. It makes more sense in the sense that the VA is stepping in and paying for the portion that the veteran is behind, and then they go back to their regular payments, right? Which is a positive thing because you still get to keep your home. And by the way, there's over 70,000 veterans that are 90 days or more past due. And up until recently, the VA had a freeze on foreclosures because they were working out the kinks with like the whole CARES mess up. That's like if you had, COVID happen, you deferred payments, and then you're supposed to like have it be put on the back end. And that will cause a lot of veterans to go into foreclosure the first time around, and then they kind of expanded it to be like, hey, if you had a life event happen, you can also qualify for this.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. It's a lot. I mean, because there's so much to unpack, right? I mean, we got to talk about kind of how we got here, and the COVID situation, where people were losing their jobs. All of this kind of stemmed from the VA loan was the zebra in with all the horses. It was the one thing that was different, and not in necessarily the best way. It did not have the same abilities for servicers to work with you, the borrower, to figure out ways to basically help you get back on track. So the VA had to come in and authorize these servicers to work with you by allowing you to, let's skip 6 months payments, get you back on your feet. For example, we're going to add those 6 months to the end of your loan. So now instead of a 30-year loan, you have a 30-year and 6-month loan, but you skipped these 6 months right here, and you just make it up and your payments are the same. And that was great. And that ability exists with other types of loans out there, but not VA. So they had to create this temporary program. Then, well, COVID shrunk up and went away. And so the VA pulled the rug out and stranded tens of thousands of veterans with no contingency plan. And it absolutely baffled me that they did that. How can you not see the writing on the wall? If we stop this, this is going to happen. Nobody thought that these people are going to go into foreclosure. It was mind blowing. So then they scrambled and had to throw something together. And somebody had the bright idea of, well, hey, let's just buy these loans. Okay, well, now we own these loans. Now what? Well, let's give everybody a 2.5% interest rate. Okay, well, that's affordable. We should do that. Yeah. Okay, well, now we need to have like a payment processing center. We have to have workers there for questions, answering phones. We need to create an environment that's a mortgage servicing department, if you will. It was the weirdest thing, but on its surface, it was super shiny and nice. And everybody's going, wow, I want a 2.5% interest rate. How can I get that? So it lasted for a year. And then the current administration said, well, that's ridiculous. Let's not do that. And it's this weird, bittersweet thing, I think, David, where it's, look, I would love to have a 2.5% interest rate, especially in today's market. I mean, look, let's do that for veterans, but it's taxpayer money. Does it really make sense? All those things. And if you have people go into foreclosure, what's going to happen at that point? Now the VA has to deal with that. So now here we are, and we've created this new safety net option, which isn't like it was before. Basically, like you said, David, they take whatever you were behind. I believe it's 90. Once you hit 90 days, you can, quote unquote, become eligible for this safety net, where the VA will essentially take that money, bundle it up, and I'm guessing move it to a second lien position or something. It's still a lien on the home. Yeah. So then when you go to sell your house, they'll recoup that money. So at some point, it will get paid. It's not forgiven. It is still there. It is still a lien on the home for folks. Now, one of the questions that I saw in my comments on my channel, David, was, this is nothing new. This has always existed. And basically the administration has just repackaged an old law that's already been in existence, and maybe they changed a couple things, made it shiny, and stamped their name on it. I personally, and look, I've been known to be wrong, I personally have never heard of this before. Can you give any sort of highlight, any sort of information on that?
So you know what? I haven't heard of it either, right? And that's the piece. Maybe before it wasn't. I think COVID is what brought this forward, where people are like, hey, all these other programs are offering these deferments. Hey, VA scrambles, jumps in. And prior to that, we really didn't hear about it. And I'm not really sure what happened during 2008, 2009, because a lot of veterans faced foreclosure during that time when it was really upside down in the housing market. So I'm in the same boat. I did not hear much about the program prior. And if it existed, then why would they have to create a law to do it? Now, there could be certain circumstances like the partial, repayment and how it's going to be structured, but I'm happy to do some research on it and see like what was there before to help veterans.
Right. Like the before COVID piece, right?
Like before COVID. Yeah. So we got to go back before then.
And like I said, I mean, I never heard of anything before that was like this. And I mean, people get confused. I could be confused. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that was in existence before, at least to the level that it is now. Right. Which this is a great option for folks that are falling behind. And I know you agree with that because it's a lot better than losing your home. One of the questions that I have for you, David, is there's more options for veterans instead of losing your home to foreclosure or taking advantage of this program to basically bundle it up, throw it on as a second lien or whatever. What other sort of options do people have? I know you've talked about it before. The number that I always hear you say is 100,000.
Yep.
It's kind of so I'd love to hear you talk about that, because I think that's also an important piece to this puzzle.
Yeah, and it's a good point, because a lot of times when you're in this position of can I make my mortgage payment or not? It doesn't just creep up out of nowhere, right? It's normally like, hey, someone lost a job. We know that we can't afford to make the payments. We don't have enough savings. So you start to weigh the options. And on average, it's over 100,000 in equity. And obviously, it's a large spectrum of VA loans, okay? So you might have just bought your home, and there's some people that have tons of equity in their property, right? So the average is over $100,000 that you have in your property. And that for veterans that are facing foreclosure. So you can sell your property now, but that's not ideal for everyone because, well, they're like, if I go somewhere else, it's going to cost more. I can't buy because I've had these lates on my mortgage. So you're going to have to, you would have to restart if you did that. But sometimes that's better than going through that whole foreclosure process, them selling the home. And then they're going to be like, well, our attorney fees are $50,000. Your late fees are going to be another $50,000. Oh, by the way, you owe us fees for this. So all of a sudden, all that equity you had, they stripped it all from you.
Right.
And you got to know your position because going into these repayment plans, guys, is not, you can't just be like, oh, I'm not making money. I want to get in a repayment plan because how are you going to make the payments? These repayment plans, they're going to look at that and say, look, yes, they're back on their feet. Oh, it's just a blimp that happened. Do they have the income to support it? They will do that, right? So we're still going to look at it before they make this deal with you for getting this program. So that would be one of the things that you can do. The other thing you can do as well is that when rates do drop, you can then elect to refinance with like an interest rate reduction refinance loan, which you only need a source of income. So even if you have $1 million mortgage and 10% VA disability, you can still do a refinance with the IRL.
And you know what? That also brings up a good point too. If you're not 90 days late, right? Let's say that you're still current, but the writing's on the wall. You're kind of stumbling a little bit. Maybe you're utilizing your savings to make these payments, and you're getting to the end. And all you need really is like a 1 month respite, right? That's really all you need just to kind of get over the hump. Maybe you had some really unexpected things that came up. You're down $5,000 and now you're trying to get back in front. With the refinance, typically you're going to skip that first month's payment, which might help in that picture as well. So if you're getting a little bit of a lower rate, you're saving a little bit on the mortgage, and you're skipping a month's payment. Those are all factors that could help you avoid falling into a deeper situation.
Yeah, let me add to that as well.
Yeah, please.
So that's a great point. Obviously, has to make sense, right? Like we're doing a mortgage that's going to cost you, $15,000 to save a couple bucks may not be worth it. But this is what I will tell you is worth it 100% of the time. And I say this on my other videos. When you don't need money, people want to give it to you. And when you need money, nobody wants to give it to you. So if you own a home and you have equity, I highly suggest, and I don't even do these, okay, as a HELOC, home equity line of credit. It's like a credit card on your home. So, you may have like 200,000 in equity or 50,000 or whatever. And you're like, hey, getting these HELOCs, you can find them online, local banks, local credit unions. They're normally really cheap to get, and they can give you a line of 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever you qualify for. And that way, if something does happen, you could just literally pull out a checkbook, be like, here, mortgage payment made, this made, so you can float yourself. Now, I would highly suggest you budget correctly and save money for a rainy day. Versus going down that route, but that is a great way to be able to access it. And another interesting point, because I just did a video with an insurance agent, a lot of places are moving away from doing like these low deductibles to doing a percentage of your dwelling. So you might have a 2% dwelling cost too. So this is separate. So if a life event happens, because they can all tumble down pretty fast, right? Life event happens, you have a $600,000 home, you might have to pay $12,000 deductible. Do you have that money? Right. So this is why savings is so important. But we could probably talk for like 12 hours.
Yeah. So. I want to throw on a few numbers here real quick. And just, I want to see if Clay is tracking really at the end of the day here.
Probably not, but
probably this is amazing to me, in not a good way. So when we think to ourselves, look, this doesn't impact me. I don't need that. This has anything to do with me. literally one of our brothers or sisters to the left or right is. And on this, on the House Committee on Veterans Affairs website, it says currently the VA home loan program serving 3.7 million veterans, and that this is going to help nearly 70,000 veterans that are more than 90 days late on their mortgages today. 70,000. That's a huge number. Huge number. 70,000. That's more than the amount of veterans that are seeking the Major Richard Starr Act. It would actually help them, right? It's a huge number. Now, it could be all kinds of different reasons, right? I mean, you can't even begin to think of the number of different reasons why somebody goes into a delinquent status. But Clay, do you have what does that make?
I do, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to make me look good at all. It'll make y'all look good. It'll make me not look good.
Nice.
I got two things for you. First off, on the side, I was doing a poll to the viewers. What's in my cup? What am I drinking?
I know.
This is off topic, by the way. I put sweet tea, my personal favorite, right? Water, chocolate milk, or orange juice. I want you to know I was drinking chocolate milk. So if you got it right.
That was my guess.
It was, listen, I'm a little lactose too, so that is not good. Okay.
Well,
but
that's all right.
Good. Anyways, here's my thoughts on that.
I hope you have an empty MRE bag with you.
No, but my wife will just yell at me later, but who cares? But here's my thoughts on that, okay? Oh, please don't hate me. For my friend group, from being in the Marine Corps around young males in the infantry, watching the bad decisions that we all make, as adults in our 30s, 40s now, watching my friends still make bad financial decisions, what my first thoughts to that is the overwhelming majority of veterans that I know within the context of my life make poor financial decisions. What really sucks about that, okay, and this is I'm really passionate about this, is everyone makes bad financial decisions. Non-veterans, to be specific, right? So normal civilians make bad financial decisions. Veterans make bad financial decisions, and it sucks to see someone who's receiving VA compensation kind of fall back into the same pattern, especially if they're working full-time, right? I'm speaking directly to those who are working full-time, receiving VA disability compensation. I think the gift that's given to us by the taxpayer dollar should be stewarded well. I will die on that hill. I think veterans make poor financial decisions, and it doesn't surprise me, actually, that there's a bunch of veterans who are more than 90 days late. That doesn't include 89 and prior, okay?
Right.
I know that's not the greatest, man, I want to hear this guy talk more kind of speech.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a lot of people that think the same way that you think, right? I mean, it's probably like 50-50. I don't even know, but
I hate to see it. I'm gonna say that. Go ahead.
Good. That's a good answer. I like that answer. A little more empathetic. Good job. So, I think, if anything, it should open your eyes to the fact that SH exclamation point T happens. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's almost unavoidable, right? A spouse dies, the breadwinner of the house. Sure, you're a disabled veteran getting 100% sitting at home, and you're not going to work, and your spouse is making 3 times the amount as you, and then they die, right? And then all of a sudden you're scrambling, right? So they didn't have a VA home loan, but my grandma and grandpa had a home. My grandpa could have, I don't know if he did or not. I was younger and not really paying attention to this stuff. They could have had a VA home loan on it, but grandma wasn't going to be able to continue that. And so it fell behind. Right. And then she ended up getting foreclosed on. So life happens, and that's why I was saying that think of the scenario, it's out there. But also there's the scenarios where I went and I put it all on black and it was red. And, I put it on
Dude, that happens.
00. Come on.
And
green's my favorite color. Let's do this. I mean, look,
Yeah.
that's a bad decision. I get it.
I'm curious. So Jason and I have almost the same background in the Marine Corps, just decades apart. That's a joke. My bad. We're both Mortimer. We're both in the infantry. We were both in the fleet in the infantry, and that breed, there's no way to explain that type of people because they're nuts. Okay, I can't tell you how many Marines I know that would on the first or second day of the month, the payday, they're going straight to Toby's or Driftwood, which is on Camp Lejeune. Those are strip clubs, in case you're wondering. And I'm sure Horno or Pendleton has their versions of
we were going to Tijuana.
Yeah, so that's way cooler. And so I just know veterans make bad decisions. And I hate to see it, especially whenever they're receiving VA compensation. It really, really sucks. Anyways, talking about ripping the Band-Aid off. Let me go ahead and switch subjects here. I did a video yesterday, and it was after President Trump signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act. He talked about the feds not budging at all on dropping the rates. There was definitely some passive aggressive communication from that, which is just normal these days. Can you talk about the Fed rates? Not because, to my understanding, the president wants 1% to 2% Fed rates across the board. What in the world happened with that, David?
So, definitely some drama happening there from both the president trying to pressure, but Powell doesn't have to do anything, right? They're independent, right? They basically look at the economy, they do what they've always done, and then they sense like, does it warrant us dropping the Fed funds rates to stimulate borrowing for the economy? Okay. The president is doing it for, I would say, for a good reason, in the sense of he wants to refinance America's debt into low interest. Okay, that makes sense. The big downside to that is if we drop rates again really low when we don't need to, we could come into a spot where we have hyperinflation and inflation in the housing market again. Right? So spreading that gap between people that could afford home ownership and not. And to your point a little bit earlier, budgeting, like a lot of people, like veterans, don't budget correctly. And they're like, oh, I can't afford a home. Like, well, why are you spending, $500 a month on going out to eat every month, where you could actually, that's $100,000 in purchasing power to buy a house, right? So you got to be really aware of your circumstances when it comes to that. But yeah, that's my take on it. Jason, what's your take on them trying to get the lower interest rates? You're muted.
You're muted. We want to hear your sweet nothings.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Well, Stan sneaks up, and that's the problem. So, look, my thought is the same thing. It's this weird double-edged sword. It's just like ending the VASP program. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I want that personally. For me, it's going to help out. But is it good for the big picture? Maybe not quite as good, right? There could be a lot of risks involved and so forth. So, I get it. I am, though, surprised that the Fed didn't lower it just with the inflation track. I mean, look, we have had so typically you're going to see those types of things happen when there's a lot of movement, right? From a COLA perspective and tracking what's happening with COLA, the last 5 months, the projection for COLA, the cost of living adjustment, has trended upward month after month after month after month. So meaning that the costs are rising and things are happening, which means people aren't going to spend. So you need to entice people to spend. So you need to lower the rate. And so I'm surprised that it wasn't lowered, even a quarter, something to help that. Because if you're talking about 5 months of consecutive projections, that the COLA, cost of living adjustment is going to be higher month over month. That means inflation is driving upward, and that trend is continuing on. I'm surprised. So I wouldn't. With that being said, David, it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Fed drop the rate 3/4 the next go around because they skipped this one essentially.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they're not doing it because they're in this they're basically arguing with each other. I hope they're not like sacrificing us mortals for that. So that's
say it ain't so.
Say it ain't so. But now I want you guys to remember something very important. The Fed funds rate if it drops, it does not mean rates will go down. And I want you to remember September of last year. Okay, rates dropped, like they dropped the Fed rate by like 0.5%. And what happened to mortgage rates? They skyrocketed. So back during COVID, and I want to clarify something because a lot of people think COVID and they're like, oh yeah, the Fed drops the rates, we're going to pay 0% interest rate. It's going to be awesome. What happened during that time, and the reason why rates were so low is because nobody was buying mortgage-backed securities or these bonds because the government was buying literally everything. That's why stock markets went up. Rates were super low. And that's called monetary easing. Today, we don't have that anymore because there's no quote-unquote emergency. If the Fed historically drops rates, drops the Fed overnight rate, that will cause our mortgage rates to go up because people pull money out of bonds and put them in the stock market. That's typically what happens. So I'm hoping from a long-term perspective, like they start dropping rates and then we start seeing mortgage rates drop over time. And then you can take advantage of then getting a lower interest rate. But one thing to know is that when you're sitting on the sideline waiting for rates to drop, and your friends are all sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to drop, and all of you want to buy 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, and all the rates drop, and there's more housing inventory like right now, all of you, your competition is all around you.
Right.
So it's not about where the market is, it's where you're at in life, right? Does it make financial sense for you to do something today, or are you going to just, follow the crowd?
Yes, run your own race.
Run your own risk on this. Yeah,
I do think it is fascinating to me when it comes to housing, how everyone's VA disability claim is extremely unique. Like there's no one blanket answer, and Jason and I try to preach that as much as we can. It's the same for VA home loans. Like for instance, myself, and I see a few people in the comments right now, have a 2.5% interest rate or lower. I think mine's 2 1/8 or 2 1/4.
Nice.
I closed on the weekend of COVID. No planning went into that. It just happened. Okay. Which is awesome. But now, I think last month, maybe 2 months ago, my wife mentioned wanting to move. And I was like, no way, dude, you're crazy. But then she sent me this house through a text, and I was like, hey, maybe we should move. That house is looking a little juicy. I mean, when you see a house and it's just like, yes, we can do this.
It was a nice house, by the way.
It was, yeah. So I called, which if you're watching this right now, in the description, you will see David Piatek's information. There's a calendar link. Mm-hmm. You can book a meeting right now. Okay. Come back, do that. Come back to the stream, finish it out. You can do that right now. But I did that same thing with David. Sent him the house. House was juicy, wasn't it?
It was very juicy.
I gotta see his house. It was.
I've never heard someone describe a house as juicy, but I like it.
Nice,
juicy, right?
Drinking your chocolate milk out of a straw in the backyard, feet up. Oh yeah,
dude, you could. Okay, and the house is beautiful. And although mathematically, like we could do it, like I could buy the house. We wouldn't have, I'm not going to say we wouldn't have any problems doing it, but like we could make it work. But at the same time, it didn't make sense.
Right.
And so on one hand, the 2 1/4 interest rate that I have and a few others have who closed during that COVID time, it's awesome. I'm not complaining, just to be clear. On the other hand, I feel like I'm locked.
Yeah, you are.
Because buying a new house, although I can make it work, although it fits your situation, it's a juicy, crispy house, right? It's simply
Juicy
not.
and crispy, just like I like my steak.
It's simply not worth it. And I think that is the way in which someone arrives to that answer is very different, right? Because we can make it happen. But I'll tell you this, I grew up almost my entire life, to include my adult life, was paycheck to paycheck. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care if you make 20 grand a year or $1 million a year, paycheck to paycheck sucks. Like there's no way around that. Like eating, those 10-pound bags of cereal they used to sell back in like the 90s. That was
the
my
big sacks that weren't in. They weren't in the actual box. It was just the sack. Yeah,
I'm like 6 years old pouring cereal like that.
Yeah.
I ate that with water, not even.
Me
with milk.
too. Me too.
That sucked, dude. Like,
Yeah,
that's not.
I did that too.
I can buy this juicy house, but I'm not eating 10-pound bag cereal ever again.
Right.
And it's just like, you have to be disciplined enough to be like, you know what? Although I can afford this house, maybe I don't. Maybe I get a $200,000 house. That sucks. But I close on it. I build equity in it, right? And then long term, you sell and you basically buy a house with cash because you made it. I mean, that's like the end goal, right? So, anyways,
yeah. But you bring up a good point, and I want to touch on it because that's one of the biggest things that I think people right now are worried about is, housing prices are starting to soften. That's like a good term for values are dropping, and essentially, the reason why it's happening is it's what people wanted to happen. They wanted more inventory. And to your point, Clay, right now we're getting over that hurdle of people are just realizing, like, look, like you have a great house. I've been to it. We've done videos out of it. I like your place. But a lot of people are like, hey, my house is too small because I have more kids now. We've outgrown it. Or I have a big home. I don't want to maintain it anymore. I want to downsize. So right now they're projecting that in housing inventory is going to reach pre-pandemic levels by the end of this year or beginning of next year. So on one hand, it's positive. On the other hand, the very thing that people wanted to have more options on, now they're complaining that home values are dropping. And they're like, well, we don't want to buy because the housing market's falling out. And guess what? In about 2 months, there's going to be big articles. Housing market is crashing. It's slowing down. Yeah, it's the time of the year that it always slows down. And so it's going to be this vicious circle of like, and if you look at because I went back and looked at a bunch of stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how crazy do they fearmonger people and just stick to what I said? It's not the market, it's you and where your timing is in life. But yeah, that is a struggle though, guys, that if you have a really low rate, do you want to give that sweet rate up? But what you can do, if you don't know, you can have multiple VA loans and you can rent that house out, help offset the new payment, change your effective rate,
there
and
you go.
Build wealth.
That's right. That is an option. That's always an option. And also consider if you are looking to leave the area, right? You're looking to maybe move to a different county, a different state. That's something that I talk about often is that, you need to look at your specific situation and look at all the different pieces that surround that, because what might work good for you might not work good for somebody else, and vice versa. One of the things I think is important too is understanding that throughout the nation, there's absolutely microclimates within the real estate market. They are so different throughout the nation. It's really interesting. So David actually has a great perspective from that viewpoint because he does do loans nationally. Anywhere you want to buy a place, he has probably already done a loan there. So, reach out to him, ask him questions. He is there for you. One of the things that I did want to throw out real quick, it's a little bit off topic in the real estate market aspect, but it has to do with the newly signed law. And what they did in addition to creating this safety net for folks that are behind 90 days plus is they also ensured that they had proper funding levels in the VA grant per diem program, which is called they shorten it up in the industry, the homeless industrial complex, if you will, for veterans is the GPD program, the grant per diem program, which is part of the homeless prevention programs nationally. So there's more money going out there to help combat veteran homelessness, which is sadly still an issue. So in any case, that is another piece of that piece of legislation, like a lot of legislation, right? There's usually there's the tip of the spear, and then there's like a couple little extra things in there. One of the things that I had a question for you on here, David, and it kind of piggybacks off of what Clay was talking about. Have you what's your experience? And I guess this is just loosely for somebody who goes, you know what? Hey, I've had my house for 5-10 years. It's got a VA loan on it. It's been great, but we want to upscale or downsize or whatever and get into something new. Can I keep my VA loan, not living there, turn that into a rental property, and then go use a VA loan again? Can I have 2 VA loans? Can I have a rental property with a VA loan on it? What's your experience with that so people understand what sort of options they have?
So a lot of veterans are actually looking at that very option right now, right? Because they're like, well, what do I actually do? And the numbers don't lie. So, right. So the financial numbers is what we have to look at. Because one of the big benefits of using your VA loan again is you can offset your departing residence. So if you have a current mortgage, right, and we can prove that the market area is positive, you can get the rent that you think you can get that covers the mortgage. We can basically offset that. It's a wash, but it's dangerous because what if you can't rent it, right? And then the other factor is you can have multiple VA loans, but it depends on how much entitlement you have, which I'm happy to go over with you. Or if you check out my channel, VA Housing Education, I have an in-depth video on how to have multiple VA home loans because you got to do some research based on where you are buying. It's important to understand that piece. But for folks that bought 5 years ago, they probably have a ton of equity. Home values have gone up a significant amount. Rentals have gone up a significant amount. So we normally see, this is my personal experience, on average, veterans that own a home that bought it 5 years ago are able to rent it and make about $1,000 extra a month. They use that money to offset their new purchase of their home because it's a higher rate. Basically, they make an extra payment, or I mean, you should just be making extra payments to pay off your mortgage faster so you pay less interest in a long time. That's really how you change your effective rate. That'd be the smartest thing you can do. But if you're not in that position, you could just use that money and offset your current property. So I just literally had a discussion with someone today about that because they're like, you know what? We didn't even think about doing it that way because you're right. Like we would make $1,000 a month. We could still, and I'm not a CPA, right? But like we all of us, 3 of us own homes and this client as well. And now you have different tax deductions if you have an investment property. Now talk to your CPA or accountant, they'll walk you through it. So there might be some hidden benefits that you actually have with that piece. So never discount it. And if you're scared about doing something like that, you might want to hire a property management company, which we just did a whole series on investor series on the channel. Self-manage, not self-manage. What's the risk? How do I look at the market? How do I determine what makes sense? So all those things are very real. And that was a good question, Jason, because like people are facing that as we speak.
Right. You know, one of my favorite things, David, is when it comes to leveraging our benefits to really generate wealth, right? And I'm a firm believer, and I was in the mortgage industry for over a decade, for those that don't know, back in, 1998 through 2010.
Sheesh.
It was after the Marine Corps. So I even got the Marine Corps in there before that there, Clay. So, but you know, it really opened my eyes, right, to the ability to really, I mean, where else can somebody, we'll just use $500,000, right? I'm going to buy a $500,000 house. it's considered an asset, not a liability. Your real estate is assets, not liabilities. So now I have a $500,000 home that I was able to purchase with no money for the down payment. And I get to take in the profit or the increases in value, right? The equity that it increases over time. Over time, right? A house from 20 years ago is worth much more today. A house 30 years ago, much more today. 40 years. The longer you hold on to it, the more likely it's going to go up in value. Of course, it stair steps on its way up. You know, you can't look at a 2-month window and go, wow, I lost money, right? It's the long game. Now, not only, you know, are we doing this, but we can also rent these places out and have somebody else making the mortgage payment, which is just amazing. And if you bought something when you were 20 years old or 25, I had my son go to you, my oldest son, go to you. You squared him away. He got into a house that's $500 and something thousand dollars.
And
And
a ton of equity. You walked into a ton of equity. He did sweet. He did. I'm very happy for him. Like you steered it, like you helped, you guided him in the right direction, because instantly the appraisal came in way higher. So he did solid. He did really well.
Solid. Yeah. And you know what? We should do a video just kind of talking about that circumstance. Yeah. Because there's gold in them there hills sometimes. And you just got to know where to look. So the bottom line, though, is that one of the hidden, I think, benefits in VA home loans is the ability to buy multi-family units. Imagine if you could go back in time for a minute and all of a sudden you're still in the military, right? Man, I would have bought a 4-unit house outside the gate as soon as I could.
You went.
Yeah, dude. So to share with people that sort of flexibility, unit property, you know, and kind of that's even a possibility. I mean, I would love to hear it from you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you guys this. There's one big misconception, as I kind of look through the chat. I started to see this on my channel. There is no time limit how long you have to live in a property. I'm not sure where people are getting this. And there's people that are pushing out false information, like you can't use a VA loan to build wealth. You can buy, there's no time limit. The VA says you intend to occupy within 60 days. That's it. You live there for a month, you can leave. You can move in for 1 week and then you get orders to deploy. You don't have to tell anybody this, right? You just rent out your property. Your circumstances have changed. VA doesn't limit you. So keep that in mind when you do it, when you're going through this process. I would highly suggest you, if you say something, prove it in the VA handbook, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we want to make sure that you're not self-disqualifying. I say that all the time. Never disqualify yourself. Stop listening to your friends. Stop going to ChatGPT. Stop Googling things. Pick up the phone. You can reach out to me, and I'll walk you through it, and I'll show you where this is in the handbook, so you know what your actual options are when it comes to this.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And Clay and I say that same thing on the VA claims side of it. Don't self-segregate on stuff. You know, if you can, get with an accredited representative that's both capable and competent, and have them walk you through it. If you cannot find a competent and capable accredited representative, we're happy to help. You know, our organization that we created, Clay Clicking and Clacking, evidence-based VA claims. You know, we have done this, David, because there are so many times that people get driven down the wrong road and either pay too much money or they just don't pursue. And that is, you're shooting yourself in the foot either way. And so I love that was your perspective on it, because it really does ring true. And that is exactly why we have you on all of our channels consistently. Did you have any questions anywhere, Clay?
Yeah. I got some. I got some questions. I have been starring as we go through. This person has asked many times, so don't worry. We're gonna answer your question. Here you go. New chapter. says, so even for refinancing, we could get the lower rate. Somebody help me here. That somebody is going to be the veteran
I
lender.
guess.
Okay, David Piatek here. What do we
Yeah,
got?
a couple things to know too is that even if you turn a VA loan into an investment property, you still couldn't do an interest rate reduction refinance loan and take advantage of primary interest rates. That's the only loan program you can do that with, by the way.
Awesome.
Okay, nice.
Next
I
question.
was trying to digest what you said there. Okay, Kishkin, he's one of my moderators and one of our claim coaches, by the way, retired VA rater. That's who we got because we're awesome. Anyways, he says, I'll put my question in the English. What's funny is I read this and I still don't understand it. Why would these mortgage companies play along with the new law requirements? I assume he's talking about the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act. What is the carrot and what is the stick to make sure they follow this? In English, please.
So the VA guarantees the loan. Okay, so they are the ones that
It's like insurance.
It's like insurance. So my understanding is if the lender wants to get paid, they're gonna have to follow. And this is a benefit because mortgage companies spend a stupid amount of money trying to foreclose on a house. Maintenance, attorneys, the fees. So it's easy, and the complexity of a mortgage being delinquent in a mortgage-backed securities tranche is complicated. If they could put that mortgage back into that and just let it be, and then the VA steps in and does a second mortgage, they're allowed to keep the mortgage with the investor so they continue to make money, right? Not lose money. They get made whole on the money that's owed, and now the VA takes that risk. That's a win-win situation in my book.
All right, sick. We have another one here. It's a two-parter. Okay, thank you for being a member. Have no idea who you're a member of, but if it helps one, it helps all. We definitely appreciate that. Charles Bender, I love your last name, says, I can't actually make the live stream. No big deal. Dude, I hope you go back and watch it all the way through because we're going to answer your question. So I wanted to pre-post my two questions. Any updates to the one-day VFW claim clinic in August? That's a great question, and we should definitely answer that. So I'm texting with the director, overseer, I don't know his exact title, of the claim clinic. I will tell you right now, it's not 100% sure the claim clinic is going to go down, mainly because of two reasons. One, the VA is losing a lot of people, right? Although the 80,000 off the table, a ton of VBA employees have taken DRP. They have taken early retirement. And that's reason number one. Reason number two, they're also still working mandatory overtime in ROs to tackle the backlog, which it is working. Like the backlog is going down. That's a good thing. The VA is processing more claims than ever before. And you hear the VA secretaries say that all the time. The reason I bring that up is because they are too busy. In my opinion, I would not make plans for a hotel, spend money on a flight, traveling. That was wild. To go to this event because it's not guaranteed, right? And looking at the indicators, I just can't recommend in good conscience people to go there. If you do and they have it, that's awesome. I will not be going myself for that reason. And the second part there is, what are your thoughts on submitting a solid goal for? That is probably the one of the most difficult VA claim questions. I have an answer for you. When it comes to chronic fatigue syndrome, it's a different beast because it's a game of ruling out, right? You're diagnosed with CFS by not being diagnosed with 50 other things. I'm paraphrasing that. And then on top of that, that's just chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay, you still have to meet the MUCMI presumptives or the undiagnosed illnesses. So I assume you're a PACT Act veteran there. You can go ahead and look at the undiagnosed illness symptoms fatigue is going to be one of them, right? Sleep disturbances, headache, migraines. There's a ton of them. IBS is on that list. Fibromyalgia is on that list. So it's a game of ruling out and then submitting a claim where the evidence reflects the theory of service connection. In this case, it's MUCMI. And just to be straight up with you, not easy to do. Okay. Not easy at all. Jason, do you have anything to add when it comes to chronic fatigue syndrome or like Gulf War illness or any of the weird?
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to add, because you really did nail it, is sometimes it's good to have a conversation about your overall situation. Most of the time when I hear somebody just talk about that, they typically have a couple other claims that they've already gotten filed and they have a lower rating and they're trying to figure out a way to increase their rating and they're thinking that that's the only thing they can do. So instead of thinking about a specific thing that will get you there, have a deep dive conversation. Everything is so nuanced that it's hard to give specifics. You need to have that one-on-one conversation with somebody who can kind of ask you those questions that'll lead down the path of, well, this could be connected to that, and this could be service connected, and oh, by the way, there's this, and go down that path with quite frankly a claims consultation, whether it be with us or with an accredited solid. It has to be solid. The problem with accredited representatives, and I was an accredited veteran service officer, is they're not all created equal from a funding perspective, which means that some of them are very reactive and they don't have hardly any time because there's a line of vets out the door and it's just order taking. Hey, what do you want to file for? Cool, you want to file for that? All right, thanks. Bring me whatever evidence you got. What kind of evidence do I need? Just get whatever you got from your doctor. Cool, thanks. Boom. And it's filed. That's not going to cut the mustard. You need to have somebody who has the time and the ability to have that conversation and really help you develop a proper claim.
Yeah, I love cutting the mustard. Here's what does cut the mustard. I'm totally going to overuse that now. Kishkin, one of our VA claim coaches, also a recently retired VA rater, says internal memos have said no to staff attending outreach events for VSRs and RVSRs. So if there was a claim clinic, it's only a one-day claim clinic if VSRs and RVSRs are present, in which we have another indicator that says that's not an option. So just doubling down on, am I recommending people travel to, I think it's Columbus is a VFW claim clinic this year, which sucks because I'm from Louisville and my mom would totally drive up and see me. But I guess now she can't. Okay. YouTube user, nice forehead you got there, says, hey guys, thanks for all the info and showing up consistently. I'm on terminal ahead of retirement. Congrats on the next chapter of your life. And contacting my lender. So this one's for you, right? On forbearance. I don't even know what that word means. On my VA loan during transition before falling behind. He has a second.
Interesting.
Here. What do I need to do to avoid a credit hit by falling behind on my mortgage?
Oof.
The veteran lender, also known as David Piatek from VA Housing Education. What do you have to say about that?
Hello.
All I'm saying is if you change your YouTube name to veteran lender, I want 10% royalties.
10%. Jeez.
I am. What's his name? Mr. Wonderful from Shark
Tank. Yeah.
I want. You kind of look like him, by the way. Okay, I'm sorry.
Very funny. All right, let's answer the question. All right, so that's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever had anyone ever ask me that. So basically, you are going to go on leave. You may not have a job lined up, and you're like, you know what? I can't make my payments. Let me call the lender and ask them if they could defer some of my payments, right? That's basically what you're trying to do. To my knowledge, you cannot do that. You literally start falling behind on payments. And if you go more than 30 days past the due date of the first of the month, you will have a 30-day mortgage late. The only way you could recover is this new program, right? So if you go 3 months without making payments, you get a job. Now you can seek the VA to help you with this. So this is a good example of what the program is designed to do and help you with. But the downside, yes, your credit's going to take a hit. So you really have to you have to really be careful with that.
You know, here's the other piece to this, and this is unfortunate. Okay. So I would say from my perspective, I'm just a guy over here, you know, have the conversation, read the situation. A lot of times they'll have hardship packets that you can complete, and you can read through it and see if there's a there, right? I'm not going to tell you they won't do it. I'm not going to tell you they can do it. You need to talk with that mortgage servicer specifically. Now, with that being said, there's the clay version, which is you need to have stockpiled, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars of cash, so you wouldn't be in this situation.
Hey,
So
it works.
that's the clay version. Now there is another version, and I know you're on terminal, and I don't know how much time you have, and I don't know how much you could bridge the gap either. So there's a lot of variance here. If you're not aware, the benefits delivery at discharge program is essential, because when you get out of the military, you're going to lose your housing allowance. And that's usually the biggest thing. You're retiring, you're going to have some retirement pay. You're also taking a hit there, but that housing allowance is also going away. So how do you replenish that? You replenish that with VA disability compensation. And I say it because so many people out there think, well, everybody knows this. You'd be surprised how many retirees, 20 plus years, are not even service connected for anything. No, I'm fine. No, you're not the same you were when you joined. I guarantee you are not your 20-year-old self. You're even in good shape, which is cool. Good for you, but you're still not the 20-year-old you. You're now the 40-something-year-old you, which is a lot different than the 20-something-year-old you. Okay. Now you're not sleeping good because your back hurts, because your knee, because your ankle. You do push-ups funny a little bit. You could still knock them out, but you're not doing them the same. You kind of got a little funny rock to them, right? These are all things that you need to keep in mind, and file that benefits delivery at discharge claim in that window of opportunity, 30 to 60 days, 3 months to 6 months, 3 months to 6 months prior to your discharge, your retirement date, not you're currently on your terminal leave. So it's not from your terminal leave, but from your actual discharge date, 3 months to 6 months. The closer to the 6 month period, the better, because it allows the VA to work on your claim for that 6 months in tandem as you're transitioning out. Now, the idea is hopefully you develop your claim correctly. You work with a solid, capable and competent veteran representative, or work with us, EBVA claims, right? And we will make sure that your claim is so dialed in that the VA can move quickly with it and get it processed quicker, is usually how that works. When you file everything in the right way, it makes it easier for the VA to process. Then, hopefully, you get your claim decided and get that first check in your hands, in your bank account, within a couple months of getting out. Now, it's all over the board. Some people get it right away. Some people get it a year after they get out. It just depends. I had a Navy captain, so full bullet, who filed 80 something different conditions, 80 on one claim, 80 something conditions he wanted to file for. It took the VA, I mean, he did a benefits delivery at discharge, and it wasn't until a year after he got out that they finally decided it. But so you might want to be strategic from a financial perspective and try to get it a simple, easy, good, solid, high number win. And do you want to add anything to that, Clay? Because this is important.
I do. So one, there's a lot we don't know. What I do know is that you're planning, which I'm telling you right now, that's a good thing. Okay. I can't tell you the vast overwhelming majority of veterans do not plan. They just get out and they're like, oh, I'm homeless. Paraphrase. Okay. So this tells me that you're planning. But what I also know is that even veterans who plan, you can't account for what you don't know. Your VA disability rating is something you don't know. I assume you're not accounting for that in this budget future or whatever your future budget looks like. Okay, that's an assumption. I also assume that what's your job lineup going to look like? Or are you going to go to school? Because you do get BAH for going to school. I'm going to assume you have some sort. I mean, you're definitely a GWAT. If you're retiring now, you are a GWAT era veteran for sure. You had the post 9/11 GI Bill. Because you're retiring, you likely rate Ruta still. So that's 48 months of post 9/11 in Montgomery. And you have VRNE, all of which give you a housing allowance option. And so that is non-taxable income in your pocket that you're probably not accounting for. And so there's just so many, like your life is going to change, some for the worse, some for the better. You are planning. I would like to see you plan kind of in full, right? What's my VA rating? I would plan for 50%. Although you're retiree, you're likely going to get higher. I would just plan for 50 for buffer sake. If you plan on going to school, look at the BAH within your area, and then you can go ahead and kind of work that around, right? And then it depends on like how much roots do you have in the world. Do you have 6 mouths to feed? Because that sucks, right? Or is it just you on your own? I wish when I got out, it was just me. Right? Because what I found is veterans who have more roots in the world, like children, a spouse, transition just gets way, way more difficult. Those are my thoughts, right? There's so many benefits that we don't know, but that tells me that you're planning. I would even ask if you're moving. It doesn't sound like it, but moving is an option, and then renting your house out is an option. You get the VA home loan. Talk to David, right? If you want to talk to David, look at the description. That's as far as I can take it, okay? Look at the description of any video you're watching. You're going to see a calendar link for David. You can speak to him. I've spoken to David twice about my personal situation when it comes to housing for me and my family. I wouldn't tell you to do something that I won't do myself, right? So David Piatek is a great resource. I think we wrap it up here, boys. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. I got this one. Hold on. Okay. If we do not help each other, something went wrong. Look at that. No jokes, no anything, straight up. That's all we got. All right. Thank you very much, David. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Each month coming on the channel.
Have a good night.